Hello, hello. Good morning. Good morning, Nasrin. Good to see you. Good morning, Brandon. Good to see you. Good morning, Chanel. Good to see you. Good morning, Colin. Good to see you. And I mean that literally to all of you. Good morning, Charlene. Good to see you. Good morning, Mickey. Good to see you. Good morning. Oh, this is amazing. Good morning, Maria. Good to see you. Good morning. Wow, this is awesome. Let's keep this up. I'm so excited. Wait, hold on. Willis, I'm in the middle. Emily, good morning. Good to see you. Brittany, good morning. Good to see you. Excuse me. Good morning, Brittany. Thank you for the chat. Hello. Who else do we have? Wait, and again, good morning, Xavier. Good morning, Gaia. Good morning, Alexis. Good morning, Adenelsi. Sorry. Good morning, Adenelsi. Correct me when I'm wrong. Good morning, Alexis. Good to see you. Good. Wow, this is awesome. Oh my God, I love this class already. Keep this up. This is great. Wait, more people coming. And again, it's not required, but it is so helpful and so encouraged and so rewarded and so appreciated. Who else? I think is it Carl? Okay. Oh, and the chat. I'm saying hello to the chat now. Yes. Good morning, direct chat person. Respect. Good morning, Brittany. Good morning, Emily. Good morning, Chanel. Good morning, Colin. Good morning, Adenelsi. Good morning, Nasrin. Good morning, Maria. Awesome. If you're wondering, if anybody's wondering why I said anybody's name twice, it's because first I'm saying hello to the people I see, and then I'm saying hello to everybody in the chat. And again, not to be weird, since we've only met once before yet, since we're just getting to know each other, not to be weird, but like all these things you're doing, like those of you who are showing video right now, you could submit for points. Those of you who said good morning, like in the chat, that totally counts as something you can submit tonight for game turn number two. Like you literally could just write down, I said good morning in the chat, and that's 5 points right there. Good morning, Anissa. Sorry. Good morning, Judith. Excellent. Great to see you. Oh, good. All right. Oh, I should have
Good
a portal.
morning.
Good morning. Oh, and she just used her voice. Just as a reminder, too, there's a separate portal for, I don't know where I'm being weird, kind of, sort of, but I'm just trying to explain these things as we go because they're a little bit unusual. So, and I'm not trying to single anybody out, but remember, like, there's even a portal for using your voice. I think it's called Speak Softly or Forever Hold Your Chat or something silly like that. So, like Judith, for example, just use her voice. So whenever she feels like it, she can go to that portal and, you know, under assignments in Google Classroom, and she could just like type in on February 3rd on Monday when you Yaverbaum said good morning to me, I actually turned off mute and I said good morning back with my voice. That's it. She doesn't have to prove it. She doesn't have to send like FBI tapes. She's just reminding me. And again, I'm not trying to single her out. I'm just using it as an example that she could just say, I use my voice, remember? And I'll be like, yeah, I remember. And then she gets whatever number of points that is. I don't know, it's 9 points, 8 points, 7 points, or whatever that goes on her grade, right? Also, and partly I'm explaining this because I always explain it for a while until everybody gets used to it or trust it, but also because I got a couple of questions, like one of which was right before class. So I do think there's a little confusion. Um, so those the game turns, like turn one was from last class, turn two is from this class, etc. Turn three is for the next class. Those are due at midnight. And again, those you just type in one little sentence of some way in which you participated today. That could include writing hello in the chat. That could be a double dip. Like, not to linger on this example too well, or you use a different example, like Brandon, for example, right? Like he's using video right now, not to draw attention to it, but totally to draw attention to it. Like he's showing video right now. So what does that mean? It means he can double dip. Like in the turn for tonight, where it says, please name one way in which you participated today, he can write out, I participated by showing video and a screenshot, since it's not hard, like would be super helpful too. But he can write for the turn tonight for 5 points. He could say, I showed video, but then he still can also go into the video portal and put a screenshot tonight and show me that he showed video today. And yes, he's double dipping. Like he can use the same piece of participation in any buckets that it applies. I hope that's clear. And then he can do, again, it's not just him, like anybody Could do the same exact thing next class. Like every time Brandon shows video or Judith like uses her voice or whomever, like every time you find a portal that applies to that, you just re-upload a new document, leave the old documents. If you don't know how, I'll show you. And just keep racking up points. Okay, it is like a gamified kind of thing, which is also why I'm sort of like explaining it as we go, like the way a lot of video games work. Like you know, you get incentivized as you go to like follow the rules, whatever. So 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 someone asked me right before class, like, I don't understand what this game turn thing is. It's not attendance. It's points for participating. Um, and I guess I don't want to bore everybody because obviously some of you do understand it. I've nothing else like replay the video from last class where I do explain it, and that might explain it more. The last thing I want to say about so look for any portals that apply. Oh, a little confusion also was like there's a portal for Avatar. I can never pronounce that word. Avatar. Um, what's that about? That would be about, for example, Anissa. Like Anissa, I think it's a she, sorry. It doesn't feel like showing video right now. Fine, fine, fine. Like no problem. Like none of this is required. It's just all like encouraged. So she's not showing video. So she wouldn't put anything in the video portal, but she is showing something other than a black box. Like that purple A that you see there, again, not to draw attention, but that purple A or the purpleness with the A in it, as far as I'm concerned, that's an avatar. Like anything that isn't a black box that shows a little bit of effort or a little bit of identification of like, you know, to distinguish you, like that's an avatar. So that would go in the avatar portal. Some of you are like submitting like screenshots of video in the avatar portal. Like that's a little confusing, but you want to actually put your video stuff in the video portal because it's worth a little bit more points. All right, wait, is that all clear? Oh, same thing with Alexis. I'm sorry. Same thing with Alexis. Like I know that's an actual picture, so maybe I'm using the word wrong, but like anything that is not video, anything that is not a black box counts as video. No, it doesn't. It counts as avatar. Last thing, again, since we're just getting to know each other, we're getting to know the system. I'm going to move to physics in a moment for sure. Like, obviously, we're here really to do physics. Um, but all this stuff I'm talking about, all these points that I do encourage that you try to get, all these points for participation, which are all under the homework sub-zero game points and participation, all of these things in Google Classroom under that, plus all of the points that you ever get for actual physics homework, which we're going to start talking about momentarily. Please do remember all those points on the one end, they really do help your average a lot. They do. They can literally make the difference between like a B minus and an A, like or a C minus and a B, whatever, or passing and failing. Like they can make a huge difference, but at the same time, they're all optional, just to be clear. I mean, technically it's all extra credit. You don't have to do any of this. You have to take exams. You don't have to try to get any of these points. If every day there's a game turn one, turn two, turn three, you could skip them all. You're not going to get zeros or penalties for that or anything, but they're just, once you get in the habit, you see they're so easy to do, I think that like, why not? But okay, I think that makes it. I'm looking. Okay, so I'm looking at the chat first of all. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Oh, and good morning, person in chat. Yeah. Okay. So this is good. Um, Someone in the direct chat is asking, good morning. I was wondering if I could go over the 5-step method for the homework, like using an example if possible. So absolutely, that is totally the plan for today. I mean, no joke. That's like yes. In a minute, I'm going to turn to the homework one that was due today, and I'm going to start walking through it, absolutely showing you what I mean by the 5-step method or how to use it. Absolutely. Um, so great question. That's totally what I'm going to do in a second. The two things I want to say before I do that, well, there are a couple of things I want to say before I do that. One, before I really get rolling, if there's any other questions at all about class expectations or yeah, about the class or about homework, like not physics, because we're about to get into physics, but just about the general homework expectations and stuff, definitely do please ask them now. I'll pause for a second. Even if I think, okay, I'm going to answer that in 20 minutes, like I at least want to know what the questions are. So this is a good time to put questions in the chat or whatever about how the class works and stuff like that. Because we've only had one class. And again, some of my grading things are unusual and they all apply to Physics 204 too. So it's worth figuring it out now. Oh, sorry. Anissa, yes, hand, please. Yes, thank you. Sorry. Yes.
So for the homework, can I because I don't think I understood like how you wanted us to submit it. Can I like write it on like my iPad on like notes and then send it in as that?
Absolutely. Okay, great question. So, first of all, great question. Second of all, the answer is yes, you can definitely. A couple more things right. So, and I'm going to be more detailed about this as we start going over, but yes, in fact, where's um, hello, hello. Right. Yes. What I want out of the homework is a separate document each time for sure. I'll talk more about that in a minute. Like, I don't want my original sheet. I want a document from each of you. I want it to be one file. Like, even if it's multiple pages, I want it to be one file, preferably a PDF or a Google Doc. But yes, totally what Anissa, I think it was Anissa just asked. Absolutely, that could mean anything. It could mean that like most people like write out their homework like on regular paper with regular pen or pencil, and then they scan it all in as one file. Totally fine. Frankly, that's what I do or would do, or I will do with like solutions to your exams and stuff. But absolutely, if you have a tablet and a stylus, whatever, like a note taking like software, absolutely, you can electronically do it out and submit it all as one PDF or Google Doc. Yes, and you can even those of you who like to like type these things out, you can type it, but I would be very careful about that because that's like an acquired skill. Like typing out the math and all the symbols and stuff. If you're good at it or you're comfortable with it, like by all means. But also you have to remember no matter what, you need to include diagrams and stuff. So I absolutely, the long answer, the answer is using a tablet or an iPad or whatever with like a stylus. Absolutely, you can do that. Yes, that's great. Kind of like my notes that I'll give you, at the end of every class. So yes, absolutely. Let me also say, before I start going over this homework, since oh wait, is it, thank you. You're welcome. Oh, wait. Okay. So now there's great questions in the chat. I'm already following by the great questions in the chat. Let me say a couple of things. First of all, the original question that was in direct chat that I'm not going to name the person's name, but the original person who said, like, can you go over the 5-step method for the homework, which is my plan, and I will do, just so you know, that person can submit the question to the portal that's called Please Go Forward. Because that question is kind of like a very respectful, polite way of saying to me, like, can we move on? Which I haven't done yet because there's other questions too. But like, that's an example of like gently telling me, okay, I get it. Can we like do the thing that we were going to do now? So that person can submit points for that. Furthermore, the person who just asked me, it was was it public or private? Hold on. Well, I'll just say, if anybody just asked me a question and I answered it, and then they wrote in the chat, like privately or publicly, if they wrote, thank you, got it, that's points too. Because it means I can move on. And now I know we're having clear communication. What is that? That's a portal called closing a conversational loop or something like, or closing a conversational path. Because like that person just closed. Now, I don't mean to dwell on this so much. Obviously, everybody wants me to get onto physics, and like I will. And each class will be more physics and less of this. But I want you to get used to the game because it benefits you and it's like a little unusual, right? So just wait your leisure, like read all those extra portals that are all supposedly due May 15th or whenever May 14th, whenever the last day of classes are. Please understand that means you can use them at any time until May 14th, and you can use them over and over again. They'll start being more clear to you like as the class progresses and as more forms of participation like emerge. Okay, so now Okay. Oh, yes. Now, I promise I'm going to get to physics in a second. I promise that's why I'm here. But last thing, yeah, in a minute, I'm going to start going over homework one and like talking about what I was looking for in it, like whether you got the right answers or not. But the thing that, of course, many of you want to know, and some people are bringing in the chat is, please, this is how my homework, how like the grading works. First of all, as long as you submitted a draft in time when it was due, which totally most of you did, and I appreciate that. Um, if you submitted a draft in time, then you get a lot of points already just for doing that. But more important, as long as you submitted your first draft, as long as your first draft was like respectable, like you tried most of the problems, you did the format I'm asking, da 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 da. As long as you submit a first draft of the homework by in time for the deadline for the due date, then that means no matter what you did, no matter how many points I took off or whatever, you can still revise and re-upload until you get all the points. Okay, I want to say that again. Any one of you, so especially all of you who've already gotten a score on your first homework because you got it to me so early that I was able to like look at it before this class even started. If you already got a score in your homework, I'm telling you right now what that score actually means is once you get what I'm asking and what I'm asking for, you can resubmit and get all the points. Of course, I know that it's not everybody knows what I'm asking for on the first day of class, but that policy is true for the rest of the semester. As long as you make a valiant first draft attempt, and then that means you're in a position to get all the points as long as you revise and upload. Okay. Eventually, like enough work piles up that it eventually probably doesn't, it's not like as worth it to you eventually to do that for like a couple extra points, but it may very well be worth it right now. Last thing, if you submitted your homework on time, like it was due the beginning of this class. So if you submitted it right at the beginning of this class, that's totally fine. I just haven't seen it yet. So don't think you're not late. If you submitted it right before class, but you didn't get a score yet, that's because I started class and I just like haven't done anything. But you're fine if you submitted it right before. Okay, so do you get okay? So I'm about to get to, but I just want you to know how all this works. And again, everything I'm saying also applies, assuming you have me for physics 204, like next semester, all this same deal. So okay, and you're anyway, so wait, let me just, there was other things. So I'm going to go over it. Oh, but the flip side of what I'm saying, by the way, that means that the points I take off, mostly when I take off points on a homework or whatever, it's because of missing steps. That's like my grading rubric is these steps, which takes a little getting used to. But then once you realize that's what I'm looking for, it kind of makes it easier. So, but the flip side is I'm not like super precise. I won't be like -1 for this, -2 for that, -3. It's a little bit more like rough than that because again, you can get them all back. It's my way of telling you we're not perfect. We're not there yet. We need a final draft. But like even if you got a 15 out of 30 and your friend got a 17, and it looks like what you both did was sort of similar, like don't get like worked up over that. Like that won't happen on an exam. But on the homeworks, the points might not be exactly the same from person to person because it's really just a warning signal or it's a opportunity for me to say, here's what you need to do to get all the rest of the points. Okay. And then you will. And then it doesn't. Okay. So, okay, I will. I'm just looking at the chat. These are great questions in the chat. I was wondering if you can go to the 5-step method. Yes. If we were to already submit the homework, but we're missing some of the steps. Well, yeah. Okay. So great question, Nasreen. That's what I was sort of just trying to, I mean, in general, I mean, it varied because some people were really missing the steps and some people were sort of missing the steps. And there's a thing about I need the homework to be on a separate sheet, not on the homework sheet itself. I'll talk about that in a minute. So it could vary from person to person, but basically, if you did okay, to be really honest, the very first thing I'm looking for on this very first homework, like the first thing I'm looking for is it clear? Did they even try to do the steps? Are the steps clearly there? Which not only means like sort of there, but like labeled, like step one, step two. Like, is it clear that this person knows I'm looking for the steps? So if there was like no evidence of the steps at all, if you just like had answers that were circled or something, yeah, you could get as low as like 12 points out of the total. I think the total was 35. But if they were sort of there, I could see them, I could see we're trying, but they weren't, but I had to find them, and I wasn't sure that you totally, or for example, well, I should probably get into this once I really get into it, but like step two is what is the question? some people like did that, but they did it by copying and pasting the question from the original sheet. I don't want that. So you might have lost more, you might have lost points there, even though you think you did step two. Now, again, it's not a punishment and it's not a criticism. It's like, I want us all just to get this, the first opportunity, I would just want us to get it straight before we get into exams and the next class and all that. So don't get overly worked up. If you got a score at all, it means you're going to get all the points if you just hang with me for a class. Oh, and by the way, by when do you have to do that? When would you have to upload to get all the rest of the points? Whenever you want. Like I would highly recommend you do it before we get deep into the next two homeworks, like before the pile gets too bad. But as long as the assignment portal is still up there, you can still resubmit for points. Okay. So okay. So I didn't really answer Nazreen's question, but I'm sort of saying it can vary. Like if you really didn't have the steps at all, you might have gotten like an 11 on this. If you sort of had the steps, but I sort of had to fight to find them, then you might have had like an 18 on this. It could vary. But again, you can get all the points. Okay. Oh, and I see a thank you. Thank you. Oh, okay. We're almost there. But again, I don't know why I'm being apologetic. Like I love the fact that there's questions in the chat. I will just keep answering them until, well, to a certain point. Like I'm glad you guys are all with me. So let me answer. So first of all, oh, it's interesting. Okay, I'm going to go out of order on these questions for a second. There is a direct question that is interesting that says, do we get extra points? I mean, there's a private question that says, do we get extra points for submitting the whole completed assignment before the due date? Not necessarily extra, but it's still a fair question. It's certainly good if you can do that. If you're in the habit of doing that, I'll certainly notice. And that's good for both of us. But furthermore, you will notice that there's at least one game portal. And I can always open more game portal. Anyway, there's at least one game portal that's called promptness. There's a point in being on time or some silly thing like that, but it's called promptness. And if you open it up, you'll see that yes, if you do the first four homeworks all like thoroughly before the due date, which I mean is what you're supposed to do. But if you keep track and you're paying attention to yourself and you know that the first four homeworks, I think it's four, whatever it says, you did them all like on time and fully, and you just screenshot the fact that that happened, that like went into the portal and I credit or whatever, then after the fourth homework, you can just submit those screenshots into that portal and it's a way of saying, look, we were four homeworks into this class and I'm still totally on top of things. Like I'm one of those people that's totally, and you will get extra points for that. So, I mean, you get a game portal points for that. So, I mean, so the answer is yes, in a way, just you have to submit into that portal. All right, last thing I see so far. This is important to everybody, I think. I mean, all your questions are important, but Maria's question, and thank you for going public. Okay, can I explain? Because this is tricky, yes, and it's like we use it a lot in this class. So you can see her question says, "Can I explain how we can submit more than one time on a portal?" Right. So I'm going to say this. I'm not going to screen share because it doesn't like really look right on the teacher's side, but I'll explain it, and then if it doesn't make, play the video again and try it on your own. But if it still doesn't make sense, then like text me or email me and I'll try to walk you through it like one on one. But here's what you do. And this is for all the game portals and definitely for physics homework. Like this homework right now that we're about to go over. So many of you submitted it on time. Awesome. So many of you did good work. Awesome. But so many of you still could get more points on it. So what you're going to want to do, you're going to want to upload a new version, but you're going to want to keep the old version so I can see that how hard you're working and that you are actually revising and stuff. So yes, so how do you do that? What you do is you go to the assignment portal on your side And there literally, and you open it up, and there literally is a button. Maybe one of you can check right now while I'm saying this, and you can verify, and you can get points for multiplayer co-op. There's a button on your side that says like unsubmit. I believe the button is unsubmit. Um, so you hit that button, which is very surprising. Like that didn't make any sense to me at first, but you hit unsubmit. That will not take down your document. But what it is, it's saying, it's basically telling Google to send me a notification that you no longer want like your last submission to count as your submission and you want me to look again. So you hit unsubmit. Then you hit the button that says attach document or whatever. So you attach a new, you don't have to write anything, but you attach the new document. You don't take down the other one. You don't delete it. You just attach a new document. And then you hit the button that says submit or turn it in, whatever Google calls it. Again, so again, maybe someone right now can verify this on your side or whatever. But yeah, that's the trick is you have to like, and you won't lose the points. If you hit unsubmit, it will not erase your previous score. It will not delete your previous document. It'll just notify me that you're like doing something more. So then you add the new you attach the new document, you hit submit, and yeah, and then I will get a notification that another thing has been put up. And I'll get it, and it works really well on my side. Like I'll see that you already have, it'll be clear that you already have points and you're looking for more points. And then I'll like give them to you or I'll look and get, and so yeah, that's a particularly important with like the portal that's like for video. If you're a person that's showing video every single day, you literally just keep adding screenshots of video every day and you will literally get points. And even if I fall behind, they'll all still sit there. Like even if I fall behind in grading, which will happen, when I sit down to do it, I'll see like 6 pictures of Mickey or whomever. And so I'll see that she's only gotten 9 points so far for showing video. So I'll literally be able to just look and be like, oh, I owe her 5 times 9 more points. And I give her 45. Like that's literally how it goes. So wait, so let me just look. Wait, so okay, so hopefully that answered. Maybe one of you could check on your side. And I know you all want me to move on to physics. Okay, so now I'm gonna look in the chat because it looks like you guys were verifying, which I really appreciate. All right. It says resubmit. Oh, if there's now a resubmit, but maybe this is a lot easier than it used to be. I mean, it used to be really close. Maybe there's a, and again, I guess I could check on my side, but it looks different on so it says resubmit. Okay, well then that should, when you gave back. Oh, okay. So someone put in the private chat, and those of you who are saying anything about this, Judith, a private chat person wrote, when I gave back homework 2, oh yeah, someone's already up to homework 2. When I gave back homework 2 with the feedback, that person says, I was able to just add a new document and press resubmit. Okay, so there you go. So thank you both. And both of you who just said that in the chat, submit for points for multiplayer co-op because you're like helping each other. Thank you. Um, so that's great. So you hit resubmit. Okay, thank you. There's also an add work button. Okay, thank you, Mickey. Oh, a million points right there. All right, now for the game. Wait, someone's coming in. And again, this is great. I love this because I feel like we're having a class because you're like asking questions and I'm answering. For those of you who are either thinking he's totally off the topic or like, if you were thinking I want to get on with it, we will get on with it. I promise. And I can promise you that every class, the ratio of physics to like bookkeeping will be higher and higher. I can even promise you, and I don't mean this rudely at all. It's going to sound rude, but we're going to get to a certain point in this class and definitely physics 204 where you're wishing we were talking about this more. Like, honestly, we will get to physics, I promise. And we will get to everything we're supposed to get to. I promise. And also remember, sidebar, your exams are based on what we do. They're not like taken from a textbook or something like that. So you only get examined on what, so don't worry if right now I'm answering people's questions, like hopefully that's sending you, whoever you are, a signal that you too might have a question at some point and we'll get to that. I promise we'll get back to physics in a minute. Just bear with, but I really appreciate that you guys are like involved here. And anyway, so someone said, when I gave back, okay, there's also an add work button. Yeah. Oh, I mean for the games. Okay, so then Maria is asking for the games, do we also unsubmit and then submit again? Not for the game turns. Like the one thing about the game that's like a standardized thing is that like every class has its own turn. So turn, And here's the weirdest thing about this class. No, it's probably not the weirdest thing, but a weird thing is the only things that I actually care about being on time, really, or the game turns. There was turn one for last class. There's turn two for this class. What I will say is when last class, and when midnight came from the last class, then that portal like died. Like you can't submit because it's just you can't submit to turn one anymore. Tonight by midnight, you submit to turn two. And again, you just take 2 minutes to just say, I asked a question about your at the grading system today. That was my contribution. And you just write that out and then you get the 5 points as long as you do it by midnight. But then midnight comes and the portal goes down, or it won't because it's just meant to be a daily reflection. So with the turns, you don't keep resubmitting. There's just a fresh one for every class, just as like a little check-in between you and me. And I am checking right now before going to make sure that that's still true, that the portal goes down. I might have, let me just make sure that's still true so it's not confusing. What was that? Hold on. Oh, no, it's not true. All right, well, it's true now. Okay, hold on a second. Thank you for reminding me. I mean, it was true of the first one. Now it's okay. Hold on, quickly fixing. So I hope that answers that question. I'm going to go back to chat in a second. I'm just fixing this. All the. Yeah, okay, hold on. Okay. Um, I'll get now. I'm going to look in the chat again. And as long as I'm looking at all this, to be clear, I can see three of you, or two of you, turned in number line totally on time. Oh, it was out of 20 points, not 35. I'm sorry, it was out of 20 points, but whatever. Two of you did turn it in on time, but you haven't gotten any comments or any score because like you turned it in right on time. So I just haven't looked at them yet. I don't want to say names out loud, but but I can see that you did. Let me put it that way. So don't worry. Okay, I'm back. I mean, just look where we are in the chat. The game turns are different from every class. Yes, since this is the second class, we submit what we did today in game turn two. Exactly, Judith. Thank you. That is totally multiplayer co-op. Thank you, Judith, for clarifying. That's exactly right. Once it is graded, we also have an add or create button. Okay, so that's new. That's fascinating. I didn't know. Okay, thank you, Alexis. Didn't know that, but good. Oh, okay, great. And then so that's totally multiplayer. You guys are like a community. It's like a crazy town in a good way. So I just saw the ad. Good. So it's and I hope this all also means that maybe you created a Discord server or a WhatsApp for you guys. I hope you did. Hey, I'm going. Okay. Okay. Good stuff in the direct chat. Okay. And again, like Stephanie, that counts as an avatar. Emily, that counts as an avatar. That's points. Maria, that counts as an avatar. That's awesome. Oh, yeah. And again, also, I hope it's clear. I'm not no names. I know I said this last time, but like if you show video at all, then Quark bless America, Quark bless you, thank you. You submit for points if you show it at all. And then you turn it off later in the middle of the class, fine. You turned it on for longer than some people did. Like it is not like you have to show up for the whole class, and never resist the temptation to turn on video because then you think you're going to turn it off at some point. Who cares? I'll even say there's a point in which, as you can see right now, once I really get rolling with the physics and stuff, then my eyes go out of my head and I'm like looking everywhere. I don't even know what's going on at a certain point once I'm talking about the physics. So don't worry about it. All right. So, okay. Should I go to physics? I'm going to go to physics. Yes. Um, okay. So, okay. All right, so I'm going to do a quick screen share. So and even if you didn't start this homework at all yet, I mean, it was due like now, but even if you didn't do it yet, can you turn it in late for some of the points? Yes, just not all the points, but you still should. So the homework that we're talking about, just to do a quick screen share, so we're talking about, so we know we're on the same page. Um, we are going to be going over this right here. I'm also doing this in case you're like watching this on a video later, blah, blah, blah. So this is what we're going over. This is what I'm going to start talking through. At least right now, I'm going to try to talk through exactly what I would expect or want you to do to get all the points on it. Um, Right. So this is the situation. This is where the questions start to come right now. This particular homework gave some kind of diagram to you. That's fine, but you're still going to start your homework by providing your own diagram. It may look very much like this, but it'll still be by your hand or your stylus or whatever. Um, and the first thing you're going to do, so I'm going to switch, just like I'm going to switch screens in a minute and start doing this. Same thing with you. You are going to take out a fresh piece of paper or a fresh document or whatever, and you're going to start creating what I call a self-sufficient document. Like your goal with any homework, no matter how easy or hard it might seem, or any exam, your goal is, well, is in effect to pretend you have a blue book on your side. You're going to create a document that stands on its own. It doesn't, you're not writing on my question sheet. You're also not copying and pasting my questions or anything. You're creating a document that by the time we're done is physics on its own. Like, yes, in your head, you're responding to my assignment, but you're creating a document that you could hand to any other physics person in the world, like any other physics professor, or I could hand to any other physics professor, and they wouldn't have to have anything or know about any assignment. They could just walk through your thing and everything would be clear enough and independent enough in your document that they would be able to say, oh, yes, this physics makes sense. This physics makes sense. Wait, this physics isn't right. This physics isn't right. Okay, so you're creating a self-sufficient document. And I'm going to do that now by switching screens. So, right? I am. Yes, yes. Okay. All right, so like this is like the top of my page, right? So, so it's a fresh document, right? So I'm going to do the steps now. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm going to do the steps now. The first step of every single problem, step one, diagram and fact pattern. So I'm going to draw a diagram and put in the facts, even if that means I'm basically like copying, from the sheet, but sometimes I'll be able to do that and sometimes I won't. Oh, sorry. Okay. So, and I'll tell you, like, of course, these problems are designed right now to be hopefully not that hard, hopefully. So we're getting used to the whole method and everything. One of the purposes, so even the diagram is like somewhat simple. I realize that. Um, but one of the main purposes of the diagrams, especially as things get thicker in the class, then you'll really know that you've done a diagram sufficiently if every single letter or term, like every constant or variable that you ever use in the math when you're solving the problem, if every one of those letters, like X or V or whatever, appears as a label in the diagram. Now that's like a little hard to do here because we haven't established any equations or any variables or constants yet. But ultimately, that's what you're really looking for in a diagram is that all the labels that you want a fully labeled diagram, and all the labels really are serving to define the constants and variables that you're using when you solve the problem. That's like actually what's going on in a diagram. But again, here it's kind of a simpler situation. But here's my diagram. Okay. And I'm literally going to write somewhere, like I'm writing step one, especially now when we're getting used to each other. I'm making it super clear. That is my step one. You do the same, please, in your homework. And you could even write DFP or diagram or whatever. But I'm saying there's my step one right there. Okay. Um, and there's more to it. I'm sorry. There's the facts too. So that's the diagram. And then there's facts. So now I'm gonna try to write out the facts kind of, in my own summarizing in fewer words than the sheet uses. Hold on, someone's here. Hold on. Sorry. Okay. Well, yeah, here's how I'm gonna do it. Okay. So just briefly, so just note, I've now attempted to convey all the information that was given to me in the original problem, but with hopefully fewer words, hopefully. And so it's all the information, all the facts and the diagram of the original problem, but it's not exactly the same, right? Like I turned it into a picture with the blue lines. So it's not a copy paste, but it does contain all the information that's important. Like that's what you want. Like I'm showing myself and you that I get what's going on because I've sort of put it into my words. Okay, so that's step one. Stop me if I'll switch back to stop me if you have a question or whatever. But now I'm going to go to step two. And step two is what is the question, right? Well, all right. So I'm literally going to go to part one, question one. All right, so maybe I'll, sorry. Wait, sorry, I'm just changing the colors. I'm not changing whatever. Okay, so here is step two, right? Here's step two. What is the question? So I've written the question out. I did not, again, not to copy paste electronically. Also, I didn't even use the same words that the sheet often will use a lot more words than seems necessary. So I just wrote like total distance in 8 seconds. Frankly, when we soon get to the point where we have like equations and letters and things like V and X and stuff like that, you might even write here, just write like X equals question mark. Like it could be very short and sweet. But so the question is, what's the total distance in 8 seconds? That's step two. What is the question? And I need that. Uh, I can't even emphasize enough. Like with a lot of you, that's what I'm sort of asking you to go back and redo. Like I explicitly need to know the question right away before you do any work, and not to like be kindergartenish about this or whatever. even if you think, oh, I think there's a hand. Sorry, I just heard a hand. I'll say that because I'm like in two screens at once. I'll get the hand in 1 second. Let me just say, even if you think you did this, not the hand person, but like whoever you are, if you like say you got the answer in your head, right? Which is possible for many of you for many of these early questions. So you might have just written right here, total distance equals 24 feet or something, and then you might have circled it. So you might be thinking, well, I just wrote total distance equals 24. So it's like obvious what the question is. Like, come on, Yaverbaum. But I'm saying, no, 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 no. Like, for 1,000 reasons, I'm saying you can't expect me to infer the question from what your answer is. That's out of order. Like, I need to know that you know what the question is. I, the reader, needs the writer to assert, here's the goal that we're about to try to achieve. And then the writer like starts to try to achieve that goal. And then at the end, the writer says, see, now I've achieved my goal. Like all of this is partly to teach you physics, but it's also for practice, like for like the day when you come out of all of this and you're trying to write articles for a journal or publish thing or do original research. Like it's really important that you create physics that stands on its own. So I need to explicitly see that you're saying, this is the question. In my words, I get what the question is. This is what it is. And now I'm going to proceed. Okay. So that now I think there's a chat. Hold on. I'm switching screens because someone just asked a question. Yeah, Judith. I'm sorry, Judith.
It goes back to step one. Do we have to make a diagram for every single question?
Great question. Great question. No, you don't. Okay. And that's why, great question. Kind of why I did the diagram first before I even like wrote down part one, Q1 is Judith is absolutely right that by the time I get to Q2, Q3, then yeah, I'm not going to redraw that diagram every time. As long as the diagram applies to all those questions, I'm just going to each time say step one, see above. So she's totally right to raise this. I'm not saying you have to you have to overdo it and do the diagram every time. That's the good news. But the bad news or the important thing is each time I need you to acknowledge the step. So say like step one, like so on, you'll see on the next question, we're just gonna write step one, see above for diagram, and that's fine. Um, so great question. Wait, oh, and someone else just asked that in the direct chat. Sorry. So both of you, great question. And yeah, I guess it's a slightly different question in the chat. Like as long as it is the same diagram, right? You just keep saying see above. And again, and all of you, well, I know this is all like super annoying and boring. Like, I mean, it's even boring to me. I know this is, but hopefully it's clear at least or getting clear. Um, and all of this is again, so that by the time you get to exams or whatever, so that we're both on the same page always, and you know exactly what I'm looking for. Like, I don't want to play hide the ball, but I also just want to tell you, sidebar, from years of experience and from going to graduate school twice. Like I know this stuff always this all this stuff seems a little bit babyish. I know that. It seems a little bit like seventh grade or something like that. I understand. There's many reasons for it. I promise you. It's not to treat you as seventh graders. It's not because I think you're seventh grade, but like heck no. Part of it is because physics does get super hard at a certain point. I mean, I shouldn't say super hard, but it can feel very hard and it's a different point for all of us. But it certainly got very hard for me at a certain point, and I'm like choosing to do it for a living. The problems get hard, and what I'm telling everybody is, in a way, if we can have a system that seems a little bit boring and a little overdone, that works, that seems like over much for problems that are easy. If we practice it on problems that are comparatively easy, then we'll know what to do when we face problems that seem so hard that we have no idea what to do. So I promise you, this is for the sake. This is not to turn this class into a joke. It's so that when it starts feeling not like a joke, you've got a way to do things. Okay. But also, and then I'll move on. Well, I'll leave it at that for the moment. So those are good questions. So, okay. All right. So that's step two, but keep the questions coming for sure. So now we go to step three. Now, this is super important too. A little bit harder to do at this early stage where we like often step three is going to be equation or equations that we will have developed, but we haven't developed any yet. So it's like a little tricky now, but there's no rule that step three can't be in English what step three is supposed to be. Well, first of all, it stands for General Definitions and Principles. GDP is General Definitions and Principles. And what that means is, like they might have said in seventh grade or something, it means like what we know. Okay, but notice this already. In a way, we already wrote down what we know in step one. There's a difference between step one and step three that we're actually trying to teach here. Step one is what we know about the particular problem, the particular situation, the facts at hand is what step one is. Step three is now, what do we know about the universe? What do we know about space and time? What do we know about motion in general that we knew even before we started looking at this situation? What general truths do we know that we can apply to this situation? So, like laws, definitions, equations that will have developed. Now, we don't have equations quite yet, but we have definitions that were given in the sheet, right? So, an example of what we would write here for step three is okay, this got a little squeezed here, but now here's an example. I'm writing the definition of distance because distance is like totally what the question is asking, right? And where am I getting this definition? I'm getting it from the sheet. But notice again, even here, I'm kind of using my own words. Now, that's to show that I get what's going on. Once these GDPs are like strict equations, then you'll probably write the equation more or less as we all write it. But you might use your own notation. You might whatever. We'll get to that. But so what is distance? Distance is the total amount of space that's traversed from beginning to end of some journey. The total amount of space that is covered, that is covered or traversed or traveled in some journey, not distinguishing one direction from another. Distance does not distinguish one direction from another. It doesn't care about right or left or north or south or positive or negative or anything like that. So that's our definition. That's our step three. We're just writing it down. But something like that. And there too, back to like Judith's question and other people. If then we get to the next question in a minute, and it's asking like the same kind of thing, but with different numbers, right? You could say again, see above. Like you can always say see above, but you have to acknowledge. So now we're in step four. So step four is particular application and work. So now we're going to take that general definition that existed in our minds even before we started this problem, and we're going to apply it to the situation of this problem, right? So I usually signal myself that I'm doing a step four. I usually will like transition by using a word like here. I'll say like here, as in like here in this situation, right? Now, usually by this point too, usually this is where we'd be like plugging in numerical values into some equation. We wrote the equation in step three. Now we're plugging the values. And now we're going to start tracking like units and scientific notation, all that like science stuff. But again, this is kind of a primitive problem. So there's not a lot of that to do yet. But here, instructor covers, well, so what is it? So first, the instructor, sorry. See what okay, now notice this. Again, you might have done this in a slightly different way, but I'm trying to be really careful here. And I know most of you could do this whole thing in your head. Well, I'll get to that in a second. I mean, I get that. But um, but I'm trying to be super explicit and clear here. I looked at each chunk of what the instructor did, and I looked at each chunk in a way that did not take into account direction. Like I don't care ultimately whether he's going left. Well, I care, but I don't care for this question. So I took the absolute value of what the instructor did each time. Well, I can't explain it better than that because I'm just looking at distance, not displacement, right? And so that's my work. So then in step 5, final answer circled, I'm literally going to give a final answer. I'm going to give, which you can see where it's going, of course. I'm going to give a final answer, couple things. You may want to write this in notes. Final answer is going to be a couple things. Number one, it's going to be a complete thought. My final answer is not going to be just a number. It's going to be a complete thought, a complete sentence, such as for, for 8 seconds, total distance equals blah. So again, everything is like self-sufficient. Like I could look at that answer and it's meaningful information. It's not, I can't put it any better than that. It's not a fragment, it's a complete thought. Second of all, it's a complete thought that answers the original question. The original question was how much distance is covered in the 8 seconds? So the final answer is in the 8 seconds, this much distance is covered. So I think the answer, so in other words, like this. And I circle it. So that's my final answer. Like that for 8 seconds, the total distance equals 21 feet. If I flipped back to my original to step 2 WIQ, I would see that they match, right? Hold on a second. So that's how you do a problem. That's how you do a problem. That so to answer the person who was in the direct chat a million years ago, I don't remember if it was. Oh yes. Okay. Good questions in the chat already. Hold on. I'm just going back because someone asked me this originally. Oh yeah, it was a private person. So the private person who originally asked, can we like go over the 5-step method for the homework? Like an example, this is my example. I mean, it's not a hypothetical example. It is the first question of the homework, but this is what I'm looking for. This is what I'm looking for. Again, if you're thinking like, well, if you're thinking anything like, well, that's super annoying, but I can do it. Or, oh, well, I didn't realize that's what he wanted last night when I did. Like, fine, I understand all that. I even understand that it's super annoying. But as long as you can do it, just do it. Just resubmit the homework when you get a chance, like re-upload, and just do it this way, and you'll get all the points. And you can grumble. And I'm not being sarcastic, because I know it's annoying right now. I really do sympathize with that. But hopefully that's exactly what it is. Hopefully it's annoying because you feel like you're doing more work than is necessary to get answers that you're seeing in your head. If that's your experience right now, I totally get it. But what you're doing right now is you're building a life raft on dry land that we will have ready to go whenever we're out in deep waters. Like, honestly, we need a raft when we're out in the deep waters of like physics that might feel harder than this. And if we try to build that raft when we're out in the waters, it's too late. Like, I mean, not right. So if this is annoying, I apologize, but hopefully it's not hard. It's just annoying, if you see what I'm saying. So now, but this is what I'm looking for. Yes. Now then someone wrote, oh, there's more. Oh, that's chat lights are lighting up. One thing I saw already in the chat is like, do we have to do this for every question? So yes, sadly you do. You do have to do it for every question. Again, it'll seem more and more worth it to you once you get to questions that you cannot see in your head. You do have to do it for every question. But again, every time there's repetition, you can just refer to above. Like you don't have to redo the diagram every time, like Judith already said. And furthermore, like if you're going to use the word distance, like if I use the word distance like in 50 questions in a row, then you don't have to read. You can just say see definition of distance above, see above. You can do that, but you just have to acknowledge the steps each time. Okay, I'm going to look in the chat more again. I know I'm really defensive about this. I am because I look. I'm exactly the guy that if I were in your position right now, I promise you, if I were in a college physics class and they were spending the first two classes explaining something like this, I would be upset. Okay, I'd be like, are you kidding me? Seriously? I can see those answers in my head. Like, really? I mean, I would be that guy to a point. But I am also the guy that loved physics at first because it seemed to make sense to me. And I was like into it. And I was like surprised I could do it because it's supposed to be hard and all of that. So I got excited about it. It's like a whole life story. But and so, like, whatever, I started getting into physics and declaring a physics major. And then at some point, all of a sudden, it was like, what? I would look at the homeworks and I became that guy. I was like, well, I sort of understand what you're talking about in class. Like to a point, when you explain it, I get it. And I could even imagine myself doing it maybe, but then, and I'm even liking it sort of, but then I would go home and look at the problem sets, the homework, or God forbid, quark forbid, the exams. And I became that guy who would look at a question on the exam and be like, all right, dude, I don't even know what you are freaking asking me. Like, seriously. And I'm signing up for this. I even thought I liked this. I don't even know what you're asking me. I have no idea how to start this question. I don't know what. So if you've ever been that person in any science class or in a high school physics class, if you've ever been the person who at any point was like, I don't even know what this is asking, I don't even have any idea how to start this. Or if you're the moderate person in between who's like, I get what's going on in class, and then I go home to do it, and I can do it. If someone starts it off for me, I can do it, but I sort of never know quite how to start. What I'm telling all of you is this is the way to start. When you get to problems where you don't know how to start, that's because honestly, and I will move on in a second. I know this is my big soapbox. Why people ever get to a physics problem, even when they did understand class, but then they get a physics problem at home and they're like, I don't know how to start this. I know I can do physics, but I don't know how to start this because what they're really, and even if they're thinking, I know he wants me to show work, I know I'm supposed to do steps, but I don't know where to begin. It's because what most people do in most science and math classes is they start solving problems on what I'm calling step four. That's actually my real takeaway from this whole thing is that what most people consider showing work is showing step four. And the reason people often don't know how to start a hard physics problem is because they are habitually trying to start with computations and they don't know how to set up the computations. How we actually should start is step one, two, and three, which, if you look at them, the reason you're bored by them, the reason you might be bored by me right now, or be like, why is he getting so upset? We haven't even done anything wrong yet. And you're right, you haven't. I'm not getting upset. I'm just getting animated. The thing about steps one, two, and three, the very reason they're boring is if you look, and why they seem condescending, is if you look at steps one, two, and three, you can do steps one, two, and three on almost any physics problem, even if you don't understand the physics problem. Like, even if you don't know where the heck it's heading, or what the answer is going to be, or what it's looking for, even when you think you don't know how to do the physics, you can still do steps one, two, three. That's why they seem stupid right now. But if you do steps one, two, and three on a problem that's like hard, they will naturally launch you into setting up step four, and then you'll be off and running. The whole trick with hard physics problems is you don't need to be able to see the answer right when you begin in order to begin. These problems on the homework right now, many of you could see the answer before you even started in your head. And I commend you for that. That's freaking awesome. But don't think it's because Moses talked to you in a dream or Jesus or Muhammad or anything. Don't think that if you could see the answer was 21 feet right away, and so you think, can I just write 21 feet and move on with my life? Let's get it straight. You didn't see the answer 21 feet because it came to you in like a spiritual epiphany moment. And I'm not mocking spiritual epiphanies. I'm just saying this isn't one of them. You saw 21 feet because in your head, you moved through a bunch of steps so fast that it seemed instantaneous. You saw 21 right away, not because it is self-evident, but because you're smart. And you should realize that. You did steps so quickly that you didn't even think of them as steps. That is awesome. And I'm not being sarcastic. So, what we need to do right now at this stage of physics is slow down the movies in our minds of like racing through these, slow down the movies to see what those frames are, get them on paper so that later on, when we can't move that fast. We have a movie, a mental movie to rely on. Like that's the point. I don't know why I look so. I'm not upset about it. I'm just explaining because I know it's like super annoying to some of you. Okay, so I'm going to move on to. But that's what I want on every problem. That is what I want, and that's how I grade the homeworks and the exams. Like which we'll talk more about when we get closer to them. But that's like to the point also where if you have all these steps and you do all these things and you follow all these instructions, then even if your answer, your final answer is wrong every time, you still totally could end up with an A on like every homework and every exam and in the class. You could end up with an A with wrong answers all the time as long as you're doing all these steps. And why can I say that with confidence? Because secretly I know if you really do actually do all these steps, you're actually not going to have wrong answers that often. But even if you did, it'd be fine. So wait, all right, I'm going to chat. Stay away from crazy. All right, do we do the steps for each question? Yes, you do. Oh, I got a thank you in the chat. Oh, we could stop right now. The man got a thank you, even when he's like ranting angrily. You're welcome. And thank you for the thank you. Okay. Oh, okay. So then there's a question in the chat about can I explain displacement? So that's the next question. We only have 10 minutes. I'll do the next question. All right. And that counts as like, can you move forward, please? Yeah, Verbound. Like, stop with the ranting. All right. So displacement is the next question. So yeah. All right. Uh, Now, you know what? I'm even going to do, wait, there's 8 minutes because I do know that I'm going to, I'm now with 8 minutes left, just going to give you some answers so that you can have the satisfaction of knowing if you were doing them right or not. Or I'm going to like explain little things, but I'm not going to drag all the steps out now. I feel like I've dragged that out enough for the moment. Yes, I still expect you to do them. Okay, so I'm going to make this clear. The thing. So whatever I'm about to give you now on my tablet for the next 8 minutes, is you still have to give me more than that when you turn in the homework. So, okay, can I just get electronic hand? Like, I'm just going to explain physics now for 8 minutes. Can I get some electronic hands if that's clear what I'm saying? That like you can't just cop. Okay, great. That's good enough. Thank you, Stephanie. That totally counts as participation. Okay, and that's and thank you, Brittany. Thank you, Adenelsi, and please tell me if I'm saying your name right. Thank you, Emily. Thank you, Judith. All right, awesome. So I'll cut to the chase. Like the second question, right? You would say C above, C above. The second question's asking for displacement. Well, the quick, fast answer to the direct chat question, when it says like, what is displacement? What is the displacement? Like from t equals 0 to t equals 8. You're going to do the exact same thing you did on this page, except without the absolute value signs. I mean, that's the bottom line. Like displacement. So displacement. Okay, here's my step 3. What displacement really means is final position minus initial position. Displacement is how far something was displaced for a journey, i.e., the difference between where it ended up versus where it started. That's literally what displacement means. So displacement takes into account it accounts for direction. So again, I'm saying this informally this time, but so here, so technically that would have been step 3 GDP. So technically here's step 4. So I'm saying the displacement really is now -6 plus +6 plus -9, which equals a total of -9 feet. Like that is the answer, is -9 feet. Another way of looking at it, is the whole the instructor started at position +4. Like here. I'm saying how far you're displaced is how far you get from where you start to where you end up, but taking into account direction. It's the difference between where you end up versus. So literally, like the final position was -5, I believe. Yeah, was -5. And the initial position was +4. So I'm literally subtracting the initial position from the final position, and I get -9. And you might think, I know we're almost done with class. We have 4 minutes left of class. So I'm literally saying this is my answer from t = 0 to t = 8 seconds. The displacement. Now, again, very soon, like tomorrow, next class, we're going to turn a lot of this English into letters and equations, variables, constants, and equations. So it'll start looking more clear or more like physics. But we'll do that on Wednesday. What I'm saying right now is that the displacement, the final answer from t = 0 to t = 8, the displacement equals -9 feet. So just to summarize in a second, for a second, like step 1 for this one. Oops, sorry. Go back page. For this one, oh yeah. Oh yeah, question 2, sorry. So step 1, I would technically say see above for I would say like 4 diagrams, see above. Right, and then here's my step 2 right there. And then here, this yellow thing where it says displacement equals final position minus initial position, that's my step 3. I know this is getting very. Right, and then here's step 4. You could tell because I use the word here. Here's step 4. And then here's step 5. And 2 more comments on that. So hopefully that answered maybe in the direct chat, the person who asked me about displacement, maybe tell me in the direct chat whether that answered or not. We're going to keep going over this on Wednesday, but we're going to go faster and faster, as you can imagine. In fact, I may just blurt out a bunch of answers at a certain point on Wednesday. But a couple things to note here too. Notice one thing, and I'll reemphasize this Wednesday. Notice whenever I'm giving a definition, I use a triple equal sign. Where did it go? Like right here at the bottom of the screen. And oh wait, I just realized what okay. So triple, so I'll say this again on Wednesday, but there's 2 kinds of equals in physics and math, in science, but it really comes up in a big way in physics. It helps a lot to realize a triple equal sign means equal by definition. A double equal sign means equal by discovery or condition. Very different. Triple equal signs are always true. If a triple equal sign is ever true, then it's always true. Double equal signs are not. I'll leave it at that for the moment, but definition, so you can always sort of tell that you can often tell if you're in a step 3 GDP. If you see a triple equal sign there, it's a good sign that you're doing something right in step 3. Then by the time you get to step 4, you're writing like here, comma, and then your equal signs are sort of turning into double equal signs because you're now like plugging in numbers from the particular situation for what it's worth. I'll say that again. The other thing is, I just realized that the direct chat person who asked, can I explain how to find displacement if I didn't go over it? They might be asking, like, how are we supposed to know that if you hadn't talked about it in class? I don't know if that's what they meant. But two quick things on that. Well, it's 12:05. One, because it said it in the sheet, is really the answer. But I have to say, too, it's good. Classes like this, like it'll speed up, it'll be more and more physics, less and less. But you think of things first and then I go over them, not the other way around, for good or for bad. That's how it goes. That's why I'm giving you this whole method of how to figure things out on your own. It will be like this. You will be given a homework that you have to try on your own, and you try your best. Then you'll, even if you lose some points, you'll be able to get the rest of the points later. But then I talk about it, not the other way around. That's just like the way it is. Okay. So, but that's class. So thank you for being so patient. I'll see you on Wednesday. Oh, I'll hang out for a second if there's any questions about the other class. Yes. Have a lovely day. Thank you for the goodbyes. All
Have a
right.
good day.
Have a great day. Thank you, guys. Please tell me.
Have a good day.
Yes, have a good day.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you. And I'm turning off the recording even as okay, I'm turning off the recording. Good job, guys. Awesome. Emily and Ariana, all good. I'm about to all good, all there, going once, going twice. Okay.